Okay, hi. I'm going to begin today's video by answering Eniola's question. She asked about how to create a an adire, a smoked adire peplum blouse, and that's what I'm going to do first. So I've already created the back pattern, just a basic. This is just a dummy pattern, so I can show you what to do. It's not like it's an actual measurement of someone or anything. So this is what the back should look like if you're going to put a zip at the back. And then with this pattern, I'm going to fold here and use it as a guide to creating the front pattern. I'm not putting the dot at the front, so I'm going to remove that dot allowance. So this is how I'm going to be cutting it. I don't know if you get what I mean. You do not really need any form of fitting lines because the elastic thread is going to make the fabric stretchy and it will take the form of the person's bust. Now to get one part of this, you measure the neck depth for the person. So for the V neckline, where do they want it to stop? Let's assume it's 9 inches down. So at 9 inches you mark, this is 9 inches. So that means this is where the person wants it to stop. This is our center line. So since it's stopping here, I'm going to take a ruler. In your case, you use a tailor's ruler or your tape. From the end of the neck here, you run a line through that point the person wants the V to stop. Done. Now cut. Now remember to mark the center of the pattern. I'm cutting this through. And we now have one side. I'm going to use this one to cut another one so that we'll have two sides. Now these are the two sides. Notice that when you align the centers of the two, you'll find out that it stops at the point where you marked as your neckline. Can you see it? I basically took the other pattern and used it to create another one. And now that one I created, I'm going to place it like this. And then they will naturally meet at the point where the person wants the V to stop. So now we have our pattern. Okay, so you get a strip of fabric, maybe about a yard, that you have already set aside for smocking, and then you run your smocking lines on it. Just a large piece of fabric, maybe about a yard or so. So you run your smocking lines on it. It's very time consuming. You sew each line with your elastic thread in your reeler, not on the top thread, but in the reeler. So you replace your normal reading thread with elastic thread. That's what will be under, and then you run all these lines neatly one by one. And by then you have your smoked fabric. You now take those patterns we created, make sure that this line aligns with the smocking lines. You go to the corner of the fabric that you have already folded. I forgot to mention that you should have folded here neatly. That's like into two, very neat folding. You should have folded it like this, very neat and tiny, and run it. So that's how this end should look like. So that all you need to do now is take this pattern you've already created, place it here, make sure it's following the lines. Are you saying you don't place it like this? You don't place it like this. You place it to one corner that you've already finished the edge, and make sure they line up, and then you can now cut. And I want to repeat again that the smocking should be done neatly for it to look beautiful. take your time, use a chalk, or yeah, preferably a chalk, to mark out all the lines neatly, same distance from each other, before running with an elastic thread. So I'm sure you can see what I mean now. The smocking line should align with this part. It should be on the same, it should be parallel to this line. So we are pretending that this is paper and it's just a sample. We are pretending that this has already been smoked. So after doing this, you do the same thing for the other side. Come to a corner that you've already finished, set it, make sure it's parallel, and cut again, and then you get that for the other side. Like I said, make sure you finish the edge. You should have sewn it, the edge you want to use, before cutting it out. I believe 1 yard should be enough for you to do this. Smocking 1 yard will give you this. But if you're afraid that it may not be enough, you can use about 1.5 yard. If not, I think 1 yard should give you the front pattern complete. Especially if it's a by 60 fabric. But if it's by 45, then I would say you should just go with 1.5 yard. So this is our smoked lines now. Oh, do not be like me. Oh. Don't forget to notch, please, so that you remember where your center is, because it's going to guide you in the placement. That center line is what's going to help you place it properly. So you notch so that you can use it to set it, and now you have your front ready. Can you see it? So that's how you get the front. Now for the band, there's a band that went across the front. Same thing. You come back to, I think the fabric should be enough for that. If not, you can do another one. So you come back to this, fold up one of the edges as to make sure it's finished. Like I said, this is what I mean by it being finished. Like, you should have sewn it neatly like this. Same thing for these edges. Same thing for this. It should already be folded before you did that. And then you take out whatever length you want to use for you. I think that one, the one in the picture looks like it's about 3 inches or so wide. So that's the one you take out. Take note of where the lines are facing. In the one in the picture, this is where it was facing. So you're now putting this together. What I saw there looks like 2 circle flares. So let's assume the person's measurements, the person's waist is 30, for example. We are going to do 2 different circle flares. So we'll divide the person's waist into 2, and we have 15. So we are doing a circle flare of 15, and another circle flare of 15. I don't know how you were taught to do circle flare, but this is how I do mine. Fold it in, fold the fabric into 2, and then fold it again. With my tape measure, let me use this for example. I'll keep marking and marking and marking. Sure, I'll keep marking until I get the person's waist divided by 4. That is, this place now should give me the person's waist divided, sorry, the person's waist plus allowance. That is, let me write it bigger. Waist plus allowance divided by 4 should be what I'm getting here. Now instead of using 30 as the waist, I am going to use 15 because I'm going to do 2 of this. So one is going to take up one side and the other one will take up the other side. So the waist I'm using here now is 15. I'm not using the person's full waist. I'm going to use half of the waist. So I'm making 2 of this. So I'm going to cut this out now. I'm assuming you know how to cut a flare. I'm going to use this to cut another one. So what I was trying to explain here now is that I'm creating two flares. I'm going to split this one now. This end, I'm going to split this one on this end. So what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, I should have 15 here, plus my sewing allowance and my zip allowance. I should have 15 here, plus sewing and zip allowance. Then I'm going to join these two together. Are you seeing how full the flare is now? And this is what's going to go around the waist. So 15, a full circle made up 15. Full circle made up 15. And then you join them together. And you have a 720-degree flare. Can you see? So this is what went around that waist. And remember to buy crinoline. You attach crinoline to your lining before sewing it to the fabric. So that's what's holding that flare up. I think that's it. It's a false overlap. So assuming this is the back, we now have our back with our zip allowance available set. And then we have this set. We have this ready too. And then these two flares, this one is going all the way around. Can you see? Trying to hold this as much as possible. So I'm going around all the way to the back too. Holding this together is quite hard. But I'm not sure. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to portray here. This is basically what's there. That's what you have. Yeah. And for the sleeve, I think that's an ordinary bubble sleeve. So just cut your bubble sleeve like you cut a bubble sleeve. And that's all. Okay, Mariam, for yours, that gown is, this is what that gown is without all the embellishments. All you have there is just a basic straight gown, just a basic gown. This is what you have there. Just a basic gown. This is what is there. If you remove all those embellishments, now this is what you have. First of all, this is what is there. Now if you want to now delve deeper into the whole design, the only thing that they did there that touched on the design was to create an illusion neckline, and then to color block or fabric block rather this place. That's basically what is there. The rest of it is just fancy. This the middle fabric was the main fabric, and this side was done with skin net, and then they embellished all the corners, embellished, put embellishments. Could be, it looks like trimming, pretty trimming. There's trimming here, and then I think those are beaded fringes. That's a beaded fringe. And then they put beaded fringes here. That's basically what it is. So what I'm going to show you in this video now is how to successfully do this. That's what I'm going to show you. How to cut out that place without any issues. Now, I would suggest that you create the gown just the way I drew it before. Just create a regular gown, front and back. Don't join the side yet. So I'm going to cut this out so that I can show you what it's going to look like. Now you're creating the gown with your main fabric This is the main fabric. Looks like damask. I think it was damask. I'm not sure, but the fabric looks like damask. I may be wrong. This is your main fabric, and this is your skin net, skin toe. This is what you're creating first. Okay. You can decide to make it a mermaid bottom or a pencil bottom, but this is what you're making first. Now when you have made this, you've put your bust cup, you've done your bust, everything is set. You can now cut out this part. Let's don't fold though. I think I should let me do it for you to see. Hold on. So I want to pretend you have your front ready. You've already done this. You've already put your illusion neckline. You've done this, is ready. This is flat, but in reality you've already done your cup, everything is set, and now you want to do that cutout, you want to do that fabric block. So you will now take this, fold it, your cup will already be here, everything is set. I need to constantly remind you that all that is there, and then you take this piece you want and cut it out according to how it is in the picture, or if you decide to get creative, you can take another shape. Let's assume you're doing this. Now you're cutting this out of your cup, is already here. Maybe I should do a visual so you can see, like, everything is set. You've done all this, but you cut this out. You can decide to go deeper if you want, but whatever you cut out, keep it. Take it and place on your skin net. Now you're going to trace that pattern on your skin net. Trace it. But when you're doing this other end, make allowance of about 1 inch. Make other extra space. And then cut. The reason why you're making this allowance is because by the time you join this back to this fabric, you're taking up extra space. Are you seeing it? So that by the time you finish sewing, there's no shortage. You might even have extra at the size that you trim off. Because if you don't add that allowance, when you join this together, it will be short and it will reduce the person's waist and possibly the hip too. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, when you're cutting out the pattern, what I do to make sure that when I'm putting it back, I put it back right, is that I mark meeting points. So let's say we marked here, we marked here as our meeting points. These points are just to guide me so I don't go and put the curve in the wrong place. So I'll mark those points, notch those points rather, notch them, very little notching. Notch this one as well, notch this one as well. So when I'm cutting my pattern, the one I'm replacing it with, when I'm cutting my fabric with my skin net, I will do the same notching too. The same notching. You don't need this anymore. We are replacing that with this one, which is the skin net. So when we want to place it now, I'm going to use that notching. Can you see? To know where I'm placing it to sew, so that I make sure that it matches. Now you can sew it. Oh, camera is blurring. You can now sew it with about half an inch or a quarter, preferably, because I usually do fabric blocking like this. When I'm drawing them, I join with a quarter because it relaxes better. So you join it. this you're making 2 copies of for the 2 sides. So you're doing one for this side, you're doing one for this side. By the time you join it, everything will blend in. Whatever extras you have, you can trim them out using the back as a guide. That's all. Other than that, there's nothing to this gown. It's just a sleeveless gown with an illusion neckline that has fringes.